Welcome to At Ease with Cooking. I'm Bonnie Kerschke, your host for this evening's demonstrations on Oriental Cooking, Part 1. Now, in recent years, Oriental cooking has become very, very popular, and there are a variety of good reasons for that. First of all, it makes a beautiful presentation with all the bright, vivid colors, and it really tastes delicious, too. It's also usually very economical, and it's very healthful food cooked in a healthy way. It's also fun, it's quick, it's easy, and it also offers the cook the opportunity to be creative, to change those recipes in any way to accommodate their own family's likes and dislikes. Well, we're going to begin this evening with stir-fry shrimp with vegetables. And here to demonstrate it is Barb Nolan. Hi, Barb.
Hi, Bonnie.
Well, we certainly have an array of things here.
Yes, we do. So why don't we get started? I'll kind of tell our viewers what they're going to need to make stir-fried shrimp with vegetables, okay? First of all, you're going to need a pound of unpeeled shrimp, and that, I sometimes call it the fresh frozen variety.
Okay.
And you'll also need a cup of what I've done is just chopped fresh mushrooms. Some people like to use the dried mushroom. I myself prefer the fresh, and that's 1 cup. The next 6 ounces of snow pea pods, and these that we're using tonight are frozen. You can also use the fresh variety if you can find it.
Okay.
Some grocery stores do carry them year-round. I'm also using right here, this is Oriental baby corn. And sometimes you have to kind of look for that in the grocery store, but I believe it's an 8-ounce jar. Also, this is 1 medium onion, and what I like to do is cut them in half and quarter them. You can cut them whatever way you'd like. 1 can of water chestnuts. And then we have a number of smaller items. We have 2 teaspoons, or I guess I should say 1 to 1.5 cloves of garlic that has been grated. There's 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger root. We have 2 teaspoons, maybe you want to hold that up, of chicken bouillon, 3 teaspoons of soy sauce, 4 teaspoons of cornstarch, and then 2 tablespoons of oil.
Okay, and then...
Oh, also a cup of water. Thank you.
Okay.
Before we get started, I thought it might be nice to kind of show some of our viewers who have never had to peel shrimp how to do it.
Great idea.
So I'll just go ahead and do this for you. They're real simple to peel. What I like to do is just break off the tail first, and then the shell will just come off quite easily. Its little legs come off with the shell.
Oh, they're so good when they're that way, too.
It really makes a difference. And now, what I also like to point out is sometimes on the top arch of the shrimp, you'll sometimes find a little black vein that you can actually see through the skin. What I like to do, it's called the sand vein, and I simply take a knife and I'll slit the back down, and then you can kind of see there's a little bit of a vein in there,
sure. There it
and
is.
you can just pull it out. And you should always, if you do see that in some shrimp it isn't there, in others you will find it. So just slit down the back. I'll do one more really quick and then we'll move on. And that's how you peel a shrimp.
Not very much work at all, is
No.
it? And they're a lot more economical if you buy them with the shell on.
I guess I've never compared, but I have heard that. We'll check to see if we have the sand vein in this. Yes, we do.
Okay,
a little bit.
There's a little bit there. I imagine you could do that under running water, too, and
Yes,
it would
and
come
it
out
works a little bit better.
very easily.
Sometimes they're a little tough coming out, but
Okay.
that's all there is to that. Okay, I'm going to set this underneath, and then we'll get started with our recipe.
Now, I noticed that you are using an electric wok.
Right. There's 2 types of woks on the market. I happen to have an electric one. You have a different type you might want to talk about.
Yeah, I have a gas stove, so I have the conventional type of wok with the ring that you set down on the burner, and then you set the wok inside the ring, and then you cook that way. But this looks like it's really a very handy one.
Yeah, it
You could even
does.
do it tableside.
That's right.
Which would be a real advantage to show off your talents when you're having guests for dinner.
Yes, that's true. Okay, what I think we'll do first is while the oil is heating up in the wok, we're going to start with the shrimp. I'm going to mix up the sauce.
Okay.
There is a sauce that goes with this recipe, and we'll make that up ahead of time so when we're ready to add it, it's all made. I'm going to turn this up to around 375.
That also has a Silverstone or Teflon finish in
Right,
it, doesn't it?
right, so things do not stick. With the gas type, I think you have to actually season them so
Yes.
you don't get sticky.
Yeah, and you do have to season it after you're through too. You have to put it back on the stove and heat it up till it gets hot, and then rub a little oil in there so it doesn't rust on you. This looks like it has a great many advantages.
Well, yes and no, I guess. I've heard two different sides. Okay, for the sauce, we're going to start with a cup of water, and to it we're going to add the 4 teaspoons of cornstarch.
Okay.
And it's real important that we get that real whipped up and smooth. So I'm using a fork to do that to make sure it's all dissolved.
Now, cornstarch, it seems to dissolve a little bit better than the flour does. Sometimes that can be quite lumpy.
Okay, it looks like we've got that dissolved. And to that, we're going to add the 2 teaspoons of chicken bouillon. We're going to give that a chance to dissolve.
Okay.
And also the 3 teaspoons of soy sauce. And we'll whip that up and we'll let the flavors kind of meld.
Good.
And it looks like our wok is starting to heat, so I guess we'll get started frying. If you want to pass me my utensil, I like to use, it's called a rice, I believe it's a rice
Paddle, isn't it?
paddle, that's it. And I like to work with this, so this is my favorite. There's also a number of other tools that you can use.
Yeah, maybe we'll hold those up.
Right, there we go. What I'm going to do now is put in the 2 tablespoons of oil. And in Oriental cooking, a lot of times they will add different things to season the oil to give the meat, etc., a little bit of flavor. So what I'm going to add to the oil is the ginger at first. And try to put that in when your oil isn't real hot, otherwise you do get it, some burning happening. And also I'll throw in the garlic. And you can see,
good.
yeah, it really, the flavor really starts filling the room once you put this in. And as it starts to brown, woo, stings the eyes. That's usually a sign that it's time that you can go ahead and add your meat as it gets brown. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stir fry the shrimp first. And as you can see, the shrimp are a little wet, so we have a little bit of flaming going on. Because the shrimp is cool, it tends to basically cool off an electric wok. So things might cook a little bit slower at first when we first throw it in. You generally do not want to overcook your shrimp, so that's why I'm going to do it first. I'm going to cook it, take it out, do my vegetables, and then add in the shrimp in the end. I'm not going to leave it in the whole time because I'm afraid it might get a little too tough. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the heat a little bit.
A lovely shade of pink there, which shows that they're cooking very nicely.
And you simply just keep stirring. I really like shrimp dishes. It used to be that I only ate seafood dishes when I went out to restaurants. And I made the simple things like chow mein at home. But I finally got brave and have found that the seafood dishes are just as easy as the beef or pork or chicken dishes. And there's a little bit more elegance to a dinner, I think, with seafood sometimes.
And I think the more you do of Oriental cooking in a wok, the more adventuresome you become. And pretty soon you're creating your own recipes.
That's right. That is true. You start adding this and adding that, and sometimes you have to wonder what you're going to come up with. That looks like they are getting done. So why don't you pass me a strainer?
This one here?
Thank you. And we'll
Give it a nice
strain
clean bowl
those.
here.
Thank you. We'll strain those and put them into the bowl.
They smell wonderful. And you still have plenty of oil left in there. This is nice because this recipe doesn't use a tremendous amount of oil. Some call for quite a bit, and I don't really think you need as much as sometimes they're told you need.
Right. Okay, good. Now we're going to move on to the vegetables. And so what I do is I tend to put them in all together. I like to start with my onions. Again, we're flavoring the oil. Give those a little bit of a swish. I think I'm going to turn the wok up a little bit. Because once we get these vegetables in, it's really going to cool down the wok. To the onions, I'll add the mushrooms.
So handy too, because you could have all of these things prepared ahead of time, and when it's time to cook your meal, it's 1, 2, 3, and you're all finished.
What I might do is add a little more oil to this. It seems that we've used up most of the oil, so I'm just going to slide it down the side. Generally, you don't like to do that. You like to start out with quite a bit of oil, because you like the oil to be a certain temperature so that the vegetables do not absorb excess. But we needed a little shot in the arm there. Okay, next we'll add the green pea pods, and they really have a nice color.
Oh boy, do they have
The water chestnuts. And I like to save the corn for last. I like to add that back in when I add in the shrimp, because you don't like to overdo that too much.
And it really won't take long to heat that corn up.
Right. If you are using fresh pea pods too, I learned a secret that you should always, I guess it's, what's the name of that?
Blanch.
Blanch, that's it. You should always blanch them first before you add them. If you don't blanch them, they tend to lose their bright green color. These were frozen and blanched, so they're retaining that nice green color.
And they do add so much color.
Okay, well, we don't want to overcook these, so I'm going to go ahead and add in the baby corn and the shrimp. And then we're going to toss everything all together. Now you really get to see the colors coming through. Once you've tossed it in, we're going to add the sauce mixture. What I like to do is kind of pile the vegetables up to one side so I can find the bottom of the wok. And then we'll give our sauce mixture one more little swish, and we'll pour it in there. It has the cornstarch already in there, so it's going to thicken our sauce. We want it to cover our vegetables. And again, that's going to slow the wok down for a little bit because it is cool. So we have to kind of wait for it to start bubbling here. Once it does, that cornstarch should thicken up and give us a nice little coating.
How long have you been cooking in a wok?
Oh boy, probably about 7 years. I really enjoy it. What I was going to say, maybe while this is cooking up, I can kind of point out a couple other things that I like to add to this recipe just to make it a little bit different. Let me bring those up first. I myself like Chinese cooking with a little zing in it. And so I tend to go for the Szechuan recipes. And what they a lot of times use are red pepper. So what I do to give this a little bite is in the starting stages when I add my garlic and I add my ginger, I also add about 5, depending on how hot you want this to be, 5 to 10 red peppers. And a lot of times it's a good idea to slice those up real small. And they will give it a real zing. It'll really make it nice and spicy for you. Another thing that you can do is you can add blanched almonds. The only thing with these is that generally before you start making your recipe, you'll want to first put a little bit of oil in the wok, take your almonds, put them in and actually brown them in the oil. And then it adds a real nice crunchy zip to this recipe.
I imagine cashews would go
right, and
well
peanuts.
too.
Peanuts are really good too. Okay, our sauce is starting to thicken up here.
There you find all the different ways that you can be creative and
Right.
add the things that you particularly like.
Well, I think we're almost done, Bonnie.
Great. Oh, it just smells wonderful. We're going to taste this later on in the show, too. I'm really looking forward to it. Shrimp is one of my favorite seafoods.
Mine too, mine too.
Oh, it's getting nice and thick now. That's great.
I think we're almost ready to put it in a serving bowl.
As we here have a nice little lotus bowl here.
Okay. What I think I'll do is have you pass me
A spoon.
probably that.
Okay.
I like to have a little bit of sauce in with mine. So I'm going to use this one, and we'll put it in a serving container. And this can be served with white rice, Chinese noodles, cellophane noodles, whatever you happen to like. Put a little bit more in so our audience can see it in a nice serving bowl. Is that enough, or one more scoop?
Oh, one more scoop, that's great.
Okay, there we go.
Baby corn looks just beautiful in there. Well, it certainly does look and smell just wonderful, Barb. Thank you so much for coming here and showing us how to make stir-fry shrimp with vegetables. And what we're going to do next is we're going to have our next guest demonstrator, who's going to be Norv Praveer, and he's going to demonstrate fried rice for us. Hi, Norv. Great to have you with us this evening and make your
Thank you.
special fried rice for us. Would you like to explain the ingredients first of all?
Certainly. First, what I have is 2 cups of rice that have been prepared in an Oriental rice cooker. You can cook it, I like the Oriental rice cooker because it's automatic and it's done quickly and efficiently. However, anybody can cook the rice the way they normally do. With a pot on the stove, it doesn't make any difference.
What kind of rice do you use there?
I just use regular rice in the cellophane bag
Okay.
from the store.
Okay.
I tend to stay away from the halfway prepared
Prepared
rice,
rice.
the halfway converted rice or whatever. I like the original product
The original
for that.
product, okay.
Here I have a ham slice from the meat counter in the store, pre-cooked ham slice that I have already diced up. I like to leave it fairly large as far as the size of the pieces that are cut up. I have here a half a dozen bacon slices that are fried crisp and that I've crumbled up before we started the show. I have 3 eggs here that I fried hard and just cut up with the spatula so it's nice and colorful. A couple of bunches of green onions that I've diced up ahead of time, and some fresh bean sprouts. And I want to stress that those are fresh, not the ones that you find canned in the Chinese section of the grocery store. The canned ones, in my opinion, are absolutely no good. They're a detriment to the to the finished product. On the other hand, the fresh, very fresh bean sprouts are a real asset to the finished product. I think that the bean sprouts and the color of these other things are what really make the finished product extraordinary.
Oh, yes, and those you can buy in the fresh produce department.
Yes, in the produce
your
department of your better grocery stores, right. And if the grocery store doesn't have nice fresh ones, well, tell the produce manager and then go buy your groceries someplace else, in my opinion.
Great. And we have a couple other items here, too.
Oh, yes, this is the old standby soy sauce, and this is oyster sauce. You will find this in the Oriental section of the grocery store, and it's not absolutely necessary ingredient to the fried rice, but it just adds just kind of a subtle flavor like many other spices, and
Extra little
I think it's
taste.
worthwhile.
Okay.
What I have in the frying pan, is just a standard electric frying pan, nothing fancy here, is the grease, the bacon drippings left over from frying the bacon, and I'll dump the rice into that.
Now, is there a certain temperature that you set the frying pan on?
Not
or
really,
it's
just
okay.
kind of a medium temperature. I can get rid of the rice cooker for now, and I like to break this up. This actually is the hardest work of the whole thing. But I break up the rice and add soy sauce, and lots of soy sauce.
Now, could you make that rice ahead of time and keep it in the refrigerator and make this dish? You don't have to make the rice right away then.
That's correct. As a matter of fact, it really makes a little bit better fried rice if you'll cook the rice a little drier than perhaps you're used to cooking it for serving fresh, with about 3 cups of water to 2 cups of rice. 4 cups of water is okay too. And stir this up and add lots of soy sauce. Now, the term fried rice is a little bit of a misnomer, because actually the brown color of the rice comes not from frying it, but from the soy sauce that you add. But don't tell your friends this. Actually, what it is warmed up rice.
It's warmed up, okay.
Rather than fried like you would fry eggs or bacon or something like that. And I like to break up the rice as much as possible so that that you don't have what you see right now. You got a white chunk here and a brown chunk there and so forth. You want to break that up and add soy sauce. You asked about the temperature of the frying pan. I guess I have this one set on about 250. Seems to be about right. The thing about this is that it's more feel and art than science. Also a little bit sloppy there once in a while.
The more you do it, the more adept you become.
What I really like to do on this is take the ingredients just as we've laid them out here to a potluck dinner, because then I'm out there in the kitchen doing exactly what I'm doing here.
Oh, what a great idea.
Out there in the kitchen where the girls are.
Oh,
that's where I like to be.
That's where you like to be, in the kitchen with the ladies, huh? Well, that certainly would be a wonderful dish, too, because at a potluck, people always enjoy watching someone do the cooking. And
well,
sometimes everybody brings it, it's hot, and so you just sit down and with everything all prepared. But this would be nice to be prepared right before you're going to eat it.
It really is. It's very, very simple, and a lot of people don't realize that, and therefore it impresses them. So again, fellas, if you're trying to impress the ladies in the kitchen, this is a good one to do it with. That's about broken up enough, I guess. So what I'll do next is add the ham slice. And don't be afraid to add lots of ingredients. So many times the fried rice is kind of bland and blah looking simply because it costs money for a restaurant to add ingredients like ham. But for us at home, it really doesn't cost that much at all, and it really makes the difference by having lots of nice big chunks of ham in there.
Well, and with the ham and the bacon and the eggs, it's really like a meal all in one pan.
Yes, it can be. It can be. Many, many times I've served this as a meal in itself, and people have commented about it, or it can be served as a side dish, or again, a potluck. It is something certainly different than the ordinary hot dish and rolls and pies, purchased products that a lot of fellas take to potluck dinners. Add the bacon, stir some more.
It's beginning to smell wonderful.
Maybe a little more soy sauce in there.
The bacon will add such a nice crunchiness to it, too.
And the rice seems to absorb so much soy sauce that you really don't have to be afraid of making it too salty with the soy sauce. I've found that most people, when you serve this, if you have the soy sauce sitting on the table too, they'll add a little more soy sauce to it. It seems like when we're cooking this that, boy, that's an awful lot of soy sauce, but it doesn't, in the final test, which is eating it, it seems to be okay. Now the green onions. The green onions add a nice touch of color
Oh, yes.
to it. As a matter of fact, they really kind of add more color than they do flavor to it.
That's coming along nicely there.
Now I want everything to warm up very nicely, so I'll cover that for just a minute. And I'll take the oyster sauce with about 2 tablespoons of water that we already have in the bowl there. And add, come on, it's oyster sauce, come on to there.
There it comes.
There we go. Add about a tablespoon of oyster sauce. Again, the ingredients aren't terribly, or the amount of ingredients aren't terribly important.
You can do it to suit your own individual tastes.
There we go. Mix that up with the water. The addition of the water really kind of steams the rice. I think I want a little more oyster sauce in there. That doesn't seem to be coming out of there quite well enough.
That will also add to the brownness of the color of the
Yeah, but just a
fried rice.
little subtle flavor. There we go. And the ingredients, the amount of ingredients aren't important. You got a little more of this or a little less of that, and it doesn't seem to affect the flavor too much. I like to sprinkle that around in there. You can hear that it's steaming a little more. I mix it up again. I'll turn it down just a bit to about 200 degrees. And then I'll take the fresh bean sprouts and lay them on top.
On top, okay.
I'll throw them all in there. That's okay. Add a little more soy sauce. And I'll cover it and steam it, if I were to time it, for about 5 minutes. The secret, I guess, of the bean sprouts is that they're nice and fresh.
Nice. Do they remain crunchy too?
They're still crunchy and crispy. They're just warmed up, not cooked, really. In fact, they're hardly even warm when we're ready to serve this. And if you've got some bowls to serve it in, can I give a demonstration on
yes,
chopsticks?
yes, please do. Is this one going to be good enough?
Well,
Because we have.
that's okay when we serve the finished product.
Okay, would you like to put it in?
But well, I just want to show you how to hold,
all right.
chopsticks. You ever eaten with chopsticks?
Yes, I have, but it takes me quite a long time, I must admit, because I'm not very adept at it. So maybe I can learn a few tips here.
Okay, this is the real key to holding chopsticks. First of all, one is down here in the crook of your hand, and it's held stationary with your lower 2 fingers. And then the other one is movable. This one is always stationary, and this one is movable using the thumb as a point of movement.
Oh, that's really neat. Now I think I can do a better job of it now. Great. Okay, how's the fried rice coming along?
Well, we'll just stir it up a little bit, and then what I'll do is take it to the table and serve it right from the frying pan.
Right from the pan,
Right.
okay. And then that'll keep it nice and warm while people
While
are...
the buffet is going by.